All right, let's dive into a really powerful idea, one that's gonna pretty much change how you see everything. We're talking about your health, your career, the whole economy. It's this idea of not just bouncing back from shocks and chaos, but actually getting stronger because of them. So this quote right here, this is the heart of what we're talking about today. We're all taught to be the candle, right? To hide from the wind, to avoid randomness at all costs. But what if we've got it all wrong? What if we could be the fire? What if we could actually harness all that chaos? The question is, how? You know, we're basically trained to fear the wind. But here's the problem. The world is just full of these unpredictable storms, what the author Nassim Taleb calls black swans. Think about it. Sudden market crashes, brand new technologies that change everything overnight. Our first instinct is always to try and build bigger walls, to predict the unpredictable. And this, right here, is the central illusion. It's a total trap. All our efforts to smooth things out, to get rid of every little bump in the road, they don't actually make us safer. In fact, by trying to engineer all the randomness out of our lives, we're making everything much, much more fragile. We're setting ourselves up for a catastrophic collapse when a real storm finally hits. Okay, so if trying to stamp out all the risk is the wrong move, what's the right one? Well, the whole solution starts with a really simple but kind of mind-bending question. Seriously, just think about it for a second. You see a box that says fragile, handle with care. What is the exact opposite of that? Your first thought is probably robust or unbreakable, but that's not quite it. See, the opposite of a fragile package isn't a robust one that doesn't need a label. The true opposite is a package that you'd actually want someone to knock around, maybe with a label that says, please mishandle. This gives us what Taleb calls the triad. You've got the fragile, that's the candle, snuffed out by the wind. Then there's the robust, the stone, which just resists the shock and stays the same. But then there's the antifragile, that's the fire. It doesn't just resist the wind, it feeds on it. It gets bigger, it wants the wind. So there it is, antifragile. It's this incredible property of systems that literally get stronger from stress. Your own body is the perfect example, right? You go to the gym and lift heavy weights. That's a stressor. And your muscles don't just repair, they overcompensate and grow back stronger. Evolution itself is antifragile. It uses random errors, mutations, to allow entire species to adapt and get better over time. Antifragile things gain from disorder. So you gotta ask, right? If being antifragile is so great, why does it feel like so much of our modern world is designed to be the exact opposite, incredibly fragile? Well, it all comes down to this one huge fundamental mistake that we keep making over and over again. And this mistake has a name, or at least the person who makes it does, the fragilista. Now, this isn't some comic book villain. It's the well-meaning expert, the academic, the bureaucrat, the person who is absolutely convinced they understand how a complex system works. They fall for this illusion of top-down control. And in their attempt to protect the system by stamping out every little bit of randomness, they make the whole thing brittle and ripe for a massive failure. And this table shows you their core error, plain and simple. We constantly treat things that are organic and alive as if they were simple machines. A car engine hates randomness. Stressors cause wear and tear. But you, an organic system, you love randomness, at least in small doses. An absence of stressors doesn't preserve you, it makes you weaker, you atrophy. A machine wears out with use, you wither away from disuse. Okay, so that's the problem. It's a big one. How do we fight back? How do we build more of this anti-fragility into our own lives? Well, the good news is there's a practical toolkit we can all use. And it starts with a strategy that might feel a little weird at first. It's called the barbell strategy. The main idea is to avoid the mushy, dangerous middle ground of medium risk. You know, the kind of risk that's not well understood and can hide some nasty surprises. Instead, you combine two extremes. You become hyper-conservative in one area and hyper-aggressive in another. And here's what that looks like in the real world. For your finances, you could keep 90% of your money in something incredibly safe, like cash, while taking that other 10% and putting it into highly speculative, high-reward ventures. Or for your career, you have that super stable, predictable 9 to 5 that pays the bills. but you use your free time to go all in on a risky passion project, writing a book, starting a band. One side of the barbell protects you from ruin, and the other gives you exposure to massive, unlimited upside from chaos. Our next tool is called via negativa. It's just a fancy Latin term for something really simple: the path of subtraction. This idea is so powerful because it completely flips our usual way of thinking. We're always asking, what should I add to my life to make it better? But via negativa says, what should I remove? For your health, it's far more effective to just stop smoking and eating sugar than it is to find the perfect vitamin regimen. Removing the downside is almost always more robust than chasing some complicated upside. All right, our third tool is the Lindy effect. And it's such a brilliant little rule of thumb. For things that don't rot or perish, like ideas, books, or technologies, their future life expectancy is proportional to how long they've already been around. So a book that's been in print for 100 years has a much better chance of being around in another 100 years than this year's hot new bestseller. Time is the ultimate filter. It's the best BS detector there is, and it automatically weeds out the fragile stuff. So trust what's survived. This brings us to the last and, honestly, maybe the most critical concept of all. This is the idea that ties everything together, that connects antifragility directly to ethics, to fairness, and to just how the world should work. Now, take a look at this law. It's from ancient Babylon, thousands of years ago. And yeah, on the surface, it sounds incredibly harsh, right? If the house collapses and kills the owner, the builder dies. But look past the brutality for a second and see the principle. It's about perfect, symmetrical accountability. The builder had his own skin, literally, in the game. And that is the principle, skin in the game. It is the perfect cure for the fragilista. It's a simple, powerful rule. People who make important decisions have to be exposed to the consequences of those decisions, especially the negative ones. A pilot is a great example. They fly the plane they're responsible for. They have skin in the game. Now contrast that with a banker who gets a huge bonus for taking risky bets that collapse the economy, but then taxpayers have to bail them out. They get all the upside, and we get all the downside. That creates massive systemic fragility. So I want you to leave with this. Look around you, at your job, in the government, in your own personal life. Who is the candle and who is the fire? And more importantly, who is making decisions that affect you without having any of their own skin in the game? Because seeing that, truly seeing it, that's the first step to becoming anti-fragile.